No. Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All set? Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. We will begin with a pledge of allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would ask during this moment of silence that you think of Brian Riley, Jim's brother, who passed away in the last week and a half. Thank you.
Roll call, trustee Downing,
Here.
trustee Driscoll,
Present.
trustee Patton,
Here.
trustee DiDonato.
Here?
Bob Ryan is excused, and trustee O'Malley.
Here.
And the village attorney is,
He's right there.
Second row.
oh, he's here.
Okay. Me too. All right, correspondence. We have a request from the band to gather again. They've played before. They would like to use the bandstand from 6 to 8 p.m. on Saturday, July 12th. It's always had a pretty good turnout. People enjoy that. Got the new sound system now as well. So, is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Bob D., second. Jeremy? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Just between Kevin and Rick, one of the things we need to talk about, and with the band coming in, is just hooking them up with the sound system. Maybe he brings his own, I don't know, but, you know, we just want to make sure that we've got something in place for that.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah,
talk
he
about that a
brings
little
his
bit
own.
I
further.
believe he has his own, yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna get into the season, so
Sure.
people will be using it. Okay. All right, we have a request to host the first annual Stephen Colvin 21 Strong, a 5K run walk on October 11th. Thinking about October already.
I'll make the motion.
Kevin, thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Okay. What we'll do is we just need to, when we get close, talk to the organizers, make sure that they're connecting with the police department and the highway department, so we can get the route all set up. Okay. Flag Day service will be Saturday, the 14th. It's starting at 6 p.m. over at the Legion. There's an extended service this year. There are a lot of new activities going on, so it sounds pretty exciting. So I hope everybody's able to make that. The band will be there, and there's lots of patriotic music and the history of the flag, so it's a pretty good time. Gail, did you have anything you wanted to
It
add?
actually starts at 6:30, 6 o'clock you drop off desserts for you.
Okay, 6:30, okay. All right. That's it for correspondence? All right, treasurer's report.
We are still looking at end of the year revenue and taxes. Also sales tax, utility tax from National Grid are booked, but we still need that money to come in. And then we're looking at water and sewer in pretty good shape right now with revenues and funds. And general, we won't know until all the bills come in. We're still waiting for those, and it'll probably be at least another month or so before we see them, so.
Yeah, usually by the July meeting, we've
July.
got a better idea. Okay, for the closeout. All right. Is there a motion to accept that report?
So moved?
Rick, is there a second?
Second.
Bob? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Catching up on the minutes. You should have received the minutes for March 11th, April 8th, which was a combination meeting, the organizational meeting, the public hearing on the tentative budget, as well as the regular meeting. We've been behind in the minutes, playing catch-up. Apologize for that, but we're working on it. So if everybody's had an opportunity to look at those minutes, is there a motion to accept?
Motion?
Ben?
Second?
Rick, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried, thank you. Okay, people to be heard. Anyone to be heard?
Yes.
If you would, Keith, just state your name and
Sure.
address for the record.
Sure. My name is Keith Sipperly, taxpayer of Hoosick Falls. I did receive a letter from you today, and thank you very much. The only thing you didn't have in there was the canceled checks from HAYC3. You were
That's
not able
for
to get,
Denise.
excuse me?
That was information from the treasurer, she's.
Okay,
the
you
department
can't
I
ask
go
for
to.
or request canceled checks from your bank? I mean, they'll just electronically send them to you and you can,
Well, it's not something we had right here in
Okay.
the office.
okay. Could you still get those for me though?
It would probably cost, but yeah, we could get those.
Electronics do not cost anything to taxpayers once they
try.
foil.
I will ask her tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. But once again, Mayor, HAYC3 has been paying back this loan
Yes, they
of
have.
$670 a month, okay. I just have a few FOIL requests, they're very easy ones, actually. I won't read the whole thing, because they're virtually the same, other than, I'm looking for the June 4th, 2013 Village Board meeting. I'll turn that over to a DVD copy from Charlie. The May 2014 Village Board meeting, DVD copy of that meeting. A June 2014, which is tonight, DVD copy of the meeting. And then I would like to see all monthly abstracts from January 2013 to June 10th, which is tonight's abstracts for this meeting. And I just have a few other questions. Mr. Mayor, last night at the town board meeting, myself, I attended, and a few other individuals, of course, attended. And you said you're going to try to get as much money back from the town taxpayers in the water districts as possible. I don't understand, because you said you were going to re-levy that money. My belief is you can only re-levy 1 year back. Do you understand that process?
Well, I understand what you just said,
Mhm.
and we'll pursue that process.
Okay, thank you. One other question, is Bob here? Bob, I have a question for you. Last week, I believe, or maybe 2 weeks, were you asked to do special security detail outside of the village limits, up on Clay Hill?
That was in reference to the, was it a run? Was it?
No, I believe it was Cindy Madison. Did she call you?
She didn't call me, no, she called you, there was a call, a request for, a patrol to come through to check.
Come through where?
Just to check.
Up on
in
Clay
the
Hill?
area, Up on Clay Hill.
And now, is that inside the village boundary?
No, sir, it's not.
That's not.
No,
So why would you go?
we just went on up to make sure everything was fine.
I'm gonna tell the board what it's about. It's about me. Okay? The Republican Party asked his request to come up. They're using our tax dollars to look for a police officer from the village to come up to assist. Now, that's BS. I'm a taxpayer from the village. I believe that my patrol cars should stay in the village boundaries.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Anyone else to be heard? Kevin?
Yeah, just a quick
If
question.
you would, just for the record.
Kevin Allard. Just a quick question, and the water agreement, did you hold a public hearing on that?
On the water agreement, no.
No, okay. And the other thing I have is I'm still back to the part about the road repair. And the road repair. When the village repairs a water main outside the village, it doesn't state in the agreement who's responsible for the road repair. Okay, so that was my only concern, was that on contracts like that, it's best if duties and responsibilities are fully delineated in that, so that you don't share in a lawsuit. That's my question.
And what was stated at the town board meeting last night is that we would work that out between the town and the village.
Oh, okay.
Well, but the board adopted that as written. So there really isn't an amendment to that yet. So that
Well,
that
that's
was
certainly
my-
something we could take a look at.
That was my question, is do you wanna be a party to, or, you know, a lawsuit? The
Well, I don't-
town, on the flip side of the coin, would enjoy to have a partner in a lawsuit.
I think what we want to be a party to is a collaborative effort for the
It-
greater good of the community and
there's
working
no-
together.
And there's no doubt about that, but you can only go just so far without exposing yourself to liability.
That's a good point.
As good intentioned as it may be.
That's a good point. Talk that over with the village attorney and the town attorney as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to be heard? No? Okay. Police report.
Total calls for reporting period of May 12th to June 5th were 83, last month were 107. Property damage, escorts, lockouts, etc. There were 11. Open doors, one traffic, 6 domestics, 1 endanger and welfare check. There was 4 disputes involving neighbors, 3 larcenies, 21 EMS calls, 7 harassments, 8 investigations, 6 criminal mischiefs, 1 rape investigation, 4 animal complaints. There was a total of 10 arrests. 1 was for involvement of criminal possession of controlled substance. 1 was for a robbery, 1 for petty larceny, 1 for criminal possession of stolen property, 1 for criminal use of a public benefit card, 1 welfare fraud, 1 unlawful imprisonment, 1 harassment, 1 grand larceny, 2 traffic arrests, there was 1 mental health, and 3 trespassing. There was a couple of these arrests that involved our trails that we have here. Our day shift, our afternoon shift, we've been patrolling those trails. Harold was down on it. We located 2 ATVs. 2 arrests were made involving those individuals. That was back on May 12th. And then on May 29th, again, we were down patrolling. And again, another arrest was made down there for an individual that was down there on ATVs. What the charges are, they range from will always be for trespassing, and the criminal mischief, depending on what damage is being done at that particular time.
To the trail, you mean, the road, to the pathway itself?
Yeah. What we're hoping is, once they get into court here, obviously, it'll be taken care of in the courts, but one of the things that we're pushing is community service. These individuals will come back down and repair the roads, or repair the trail by bringing more gravel down there, whatever it is. The patrolling is being done there on a daily basis. I noticed in the evening hours, we have a lot of people that are walking down there. I located an individual at the other end of the trail, down by the sewage treatment plant, that had been parked, that came from Saratoga. He was in there fishing. He had heard about the trail and the niceness there. He was not driving on the trail, he was parked, but he used the trail to get down to the stream there, in which he loved it. He thought it was really great. On the other flip side of it, while we're seeing people walking down there and taking their walks in the evening hours, we also had could have turned out to be a very serious issue, where an individual was located down there, highly intoxicated, passed out on the trail. He was transported back here at the station and transported to the hospital for a serious drinking and drug problem. So our guys are staying down, our guys and our women, I should say, are very active on there, will continue to be that way, and hopefully the word is gonna get out more and more that, come on down and enjoy it, but at the same time, don't abuse it. We checked out the 911 call that you had requested, and I spoke to the individuals here. What they're telling me here is they did receive it on a 911 call. As to why the phone rang and rang, they have no answer. They stated that 2 things happen when a 911 call comes in. If it's a landline and there's problems within the system, it goes to what they call a TOPS, and that's a telephone operator service that's contracted with the county, that it will answer the phone and then get sent over. If it's a 911 call that's not being answered, it would go to the New York State Police call center. That didn't happen. And they state that the landline is tested at the beginning of each shift. So I don't know. I don't have that answer. I can't clarify. we did discuss a little bit as to what could have happened. But at this point in time, that's the only findings that they were able to come up with for us. Real quick. We went back to last time when we talked about phone calls coming into to us, just giving us information. And Kevin had placed a phone call to me and asked me about a suspicious vehicle that he came across in the village one day. We checked it out, everything matched up with the vehicle. The individual was not from around here. Our officers are keeping an eye on it. I dug a little bit more, I'm not gonna get into all the detail, but it does raise some suspicion as to why this individual would be here in the village. So again, by calling the police, no matter how small it might be or how major it might be, it can turn out to be something, and you're not wasting our time. So please, we encourage everybody. Again, here's another situation where a citizen took it upon themselves to place a call to us that didn't look right, and it wasn't right. So I, again, encourage that to happen. We had a meeting here that the deputy mayor and the mayor are at, with Hayes E3 again, concerning heroin and other drugs. And we talked about the dangers of the drugs, signs, et cetera, where there was some medical doctors. I thought it was well attended. It could have been attended a little bit better, but I thought that, you know, what we got out of it was good. One of the things, Rick, that Harold and I talked about is on the Facebook. One of the biggest questions that I think is being asked is, what do people, parents, et cetera, look for? And I think we need to get that out there a little bit more. I was wondering, Harold had a great flyer put together where it does talk about that. Is there a way that maybe we can put that as a service type thing on Facebook?
Most certainly. Yeah.
If we get that over to you and then it can be put out there, I think it might be something that you know, in the privacy of someone's home, maybe they have a question and they can at least go to that, and it might give them some direction, some assistance on it.
That's actually great information, because to be honest with you, that night, that's kind of what I was looking for. That as a citizen, as a father, as, you know, somebody might potentially have to deal with this or might be dealing with it already, how do I handle it? Not necessarily as a professional, whether you be a social worker, a police officer, or a doctor. They know how to handle it, but we need to know.
I
So
agree.
that'd be good information.
I think that maybe the next meeting we can address it that way, advertise it that way, and maybe get that type of literature out there, and we can talk specifically about that. I think that was one of the highlights that we need to focus on what Harold and I talked about, if we can get it on Facebook. At least people have a place to go to look at for the signs. I'm not gonna say, as I said up there, that we have a major heroin problem or drug problem. I think we're fortunate, we have a problem, but I think we're fortunate, and I'm gonna blow our horn a little bit, that we have a police department, they know about the police department. We've made that arrest about the copper that was stolen down at the highway garage. And they spoke about not coming here at 2 o'clock to see if we were here, knowing that we were off. There's an individual, the second part of that arrest, he's over in Vermont, hiding out. And he only comes back here after 2 o'clock to visit his family, because he knows, number one, that we're not here, and usually the state police or the sheriffs are gonna take a little while to get here, so. He thinks he's got one on us. We're hoping to rectify that tomorrow by the state police in Vermont going to pick him up for us. We know where he is over there. But that's one of the issues here, I think that, and this is heroin. This kid's got a major heroin problem. We know he has a heroin problem. We know most of our criminal activity involved in that is involving the drug. It's a drug habit that's going on. So I think we need to stay the way we are with it. I think these meetings are great. We're talking about going on 24 hours on a Wednesday night here. I think we're very capable of doing such. I think we've been able to locate the money that's gonna cover that. And hopefully with the 2 hirees that we're gonna do tonight, and also putting 2 more guys in the basic school with that program that we started, continues to keep the coverage going. So I hope everyone takes a look at what the mayor and Bob has put forth about the school and the 2 hirees, and allows us to go forward with it.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question? On the ATV arrests on the trail, were there any impounds involved in those?
Harold?
No, It wasn't.
Okay.
I think at this point in time, we try to use a little bit of, I'll use the word kindness.
Yeah, naturally.
I think though, they've had their chance, and that is done the next time. You know, it's one thing to arrest and which is good, and then you tow, there's a big expense. These kids, I think, I mean, money-wise, the ATV would still be sitting at the garage over there, because they wouldn't be able to get it. But with that said, I think those days of giving that break are gonna come to an end.
Harold, was the Vermont ATV, was that a resident that's moved here? Are they bringing their ATVs down to ride here?
Yes, brought his ATV down to ride with his buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that we think is happening is they're coming in from the sewage treatment plant and coming out from out of the village, coming down and then hitting the sewage treatment plant, coming through that way through. So we're going right directly out when we make our loop through, so they know we're there now.
Yeah.
These two individuals are well known within the, we'll say, ATV riders or others, and I'm sure that word, I know we've received a call the next day from someone that was a little upset that we did what we did, but he was informed that we'll do it again.
Plus,
Well,
we
okay.
started the bicycle patrols today,
Good.
and there was a couple runs done with the bicycles, and we take patrol cars on it as well.
I believe the signs that we need to post over there have been ordered as well, so we need to add another logo to it.
Okay. One thing that we might wanna put, there's a spot down there where you can walk, it's really nice, and someone has like a campfire down there. And I'm not encouraging, I don't know, maybe along the pathway we can put like a garbage can or something,
Yeah.
just for,
There has been some discussion to that, but it's like, who's gonna pick them up? But yeah, it's a good idea. I'd rather have it all collected around a center receptacle and tossed all over the place anyway, even if it piles up, so.
well, it might be with our community service people may have to take that walk down there, pick up the garbage too, so.
I think we also had maybe a request or an inquiry from someone who's working on their Eagle Scout, who was interested in doing something along the trail in terms of trash collection and some kind of cans and stuff, so maybe some ways to talk about that. Okay, anything else, Chief? Harold? No? Good, okay, thank you. Code enforcement report?
Had permit applications 12, another 8 to 10 were verbal applications which didn't need an actual permit. 8 of the permits were approved to date. Rental inspections were a little bit to about 15. I did 1 commercial property inspection, which is 1. On-site meetings, I've done in excess of 20. In the office meetings, in excess of 25. Another half dozen other meetings, other issues. Violations are up, which is in relation to the vacant property issues and so on that we have, and I'm at 20 on that one. We had 2 court appearances, and let's see what we have here. I've passed on a list to Jerry McCullough on a dozen properties right now. I had hoped he'd start those today, but hasn't, but he has been made aware that we've got a dozen this week, and we'll have a pile more next week for him too. So we're getting around the community as far as to clean up on the vacant. As you're aware, I've also made contact with a couple of the banks and property management firms that handle some of the vacant properties, and I have let them know under no terms are we going to allow it anymore, and that we would be pursuing whatever we could to get these properties taken care of. So Jerry's just one piece of it. Unfortunately, we're up to about 40 different properties that we're looking at, so.
It's a number.
Yeah, well, they're not all vacant, but that number of 40, I would say we're probably close to about 30 plus.
Okay, thank you. Property sales for the past month? We have 2. Okay, and were those individual residential sales, do you know?
One-family homes.
One-family homes, okay, very good. All right, committee reports. Bob?
Okay, the Esquama warehouse has reopened. The weekly hours will be Thursday, 11 to 7, Fridays, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 4. So it opened up last Thursday, June 5th, for a trial run, so we're gonna do that.
And where is it?
Is this the one in Melrose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Esquama warehouse.
Right on Route 40.
Route 40,
Okay.
has reopened, so we're
What's
gonna
the
try.
hours for Saturday?
Thursday, Saturday, 9 to 4. Fridays, 9 to 5. Thursday, 11 to 7.
Can you just email me that, info?
You can
Just
have
give me
it.
that, yeah. that'd be
I'll
great.
give you that,
Yep,
sir.
I'll update that.
And the other thing,
Thanks.
we did take a tour of the recycling plant that Thursday when the place reopened. And it's amazing to see what comes through that plant and the stuff that they get in there, and people still don't understand how to recycle. They throw everything in there. You know, you got bread trays. They had a big, huge boulder come through in there. I don't know how they got it in the barrel, but there was a boulder that big in there. And plastic bags. They're the worst things to get into that machine, because they get in there and with these clogs they have, they tangle up and they ruin those clogs. While we were down there was a lawnmower blade that went through and cut the belt right in half. So that they're just throwing stuff that's not recyclable into the recycling cans. They just don't understand what it does to this equipment down there.
If you go through town, you see a lot of the garbage cans have stuff that shouldn't be in it.
Right,
Yeah.
they're just the
A lot
recycling,
of
they
stuff.
shouldn't.
The recycling.
And it's amazing that, I advise if you guys ever wanna take a trip down there and see what it's all about. It's set up, they have, each side, they have so many guys on a belt, and they're just flipping the stuff, throwing out the stuff, picking it out as fast as they can.
Where's
Stuff that they want. B3 station, Port of Albany.
Oh, portable.
It's amazing what they do.
Bob, I did send
It-
out notices to 8 properties here in the village in regards to improper materials in those camps, just this past week, so we made them clean a lot of them out.
Yeah,
I think
it's,
6
it's,
out of the 8
it's just,
Right. They have a camera that sees what's getting dumped as it's getting dumped, correct?
well, they're supposed to have it in the trucks, but
Yeah, that's what I mean,
sometimes, you know, they don't actually see a lot of it. But and I just don't understand how they got that huge boulder in there and get into that, you know, they had to take it out and put it outside. And they do the glass, they don't like the glass because actually, once they crush that glass, the paper and everything gets in with it and they can't use it, so they have to dump it outside. And they come and pick it up and they use it for landfill roads, to put on the roads, so to keep it from, so actually, you know, that's not their big thing, but everything else, but it's amazing. These guys should go down and take a look at it. Yep.
All right. Anything else, Bob?
Oh, the street, lights over in the parking lot, they look really nice. I thought they were, my opinion, they were nice, but Neil thinks we need a little bit brighter. But
Well, actually, what we're asking for is just the public. We've got about 12 sample, if you will, pilot LED bulbs. You can tell by the color a little different. It's whitish, bluish. Some on John Street, some over on Mechanic Street. We've got them over in the parking lot across from the library. Just take a look at them. We want to see if we think it's giving the equal amount, certainly not less, but an equal amount of illumination, so that we're going to be safe, and all, so that people will be safe. We're trying them out, and we want to see if they work. If we think they need to be a little bit brighter, we can go up to the next level. Basically, what it is it's a 36 watt LED that replaces a 150 watt bulb. So that's a considerable savings. It really is.
Are they all 150 in the village? Because I know in the town there was some 90,
Well,
there was some 150. there
Where's
was-
Neil? Neil? Are they all 150, or the majority of them?
In our village, yeah.
The village-owned ones, okay. Do you know, the other National Grid ones?
No, there's, he sent me a report, there's various wattages.
Different
There is.
ones throughout?
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's interesting though.
okay,
That's for me.
all right, thank you. Jeremy? Nothing, okay. Ben?
I had a a conversation, I talked about it last month with the Cohen Law Group. Time Warner Cable, at some point, is going to be bought out by Comcast. And the village agreement, which was signed in September of 2007, is for a 10-year term. In that 10-year term, the village is supposed to collect it's supposed to be up to 5% of gross revenue. We signed the agreement at 3%, which means there's 2% that could possibly be moved about. The reason why I spoke to the Cohen Law Group is because they're a law group that specifically works with municipalities that work in situations like this when the franchise transfers come up. Now, normally we wouldn't be able to do anything until 2017, but because Time Warner Cable and Comcast are coming together, this is a unique opportunity for the village, depending on what we decide within the next couple of months, that we could maybe take advantage of growing our revenue. So what the Cohen Law Group did for us was they put together a proposal. I got it just this afternoon, so I really haven't had a chance to go through it yet. But basically, there are certain things that we are able to take advantage of, possibly. And of course, they charge for their services. But what I'd like to do is go through and take a look at what we're receiving from Time Warner Cable on a yearly basis for the past few years. Add in the 2% and find out if it would be profitable for us to hire them to work on this. They would make an agreement that's a lot stronger than what we have right now. Our agreement, while fine, could be better. There are things that we could maybe ask for that we don't have right now. They also said that, and I haven't checked this out yet, so I can't say for sure, but what I was told is that there's the possibility of, they talked about basic service, free outlets, firehouses, school, municipal building. They also said that sometimes if you don't have a free internet connection, that you can bargain for that in the agreement. And what's going to happen is we, as a village, will receive a Form 394, and that gives us 120 days to weigh in and negotiate a better agreement. Now, I asked Ann, she said she hasn't seen it yet. So what happens is Comcast will send that to us, and then we have to weigh in on what we're doing, and we can make hopefully a better deal. So what I'd like to do is make sure that all the board members take a look at this, and I will try and get the information so that we can talk about it at next month's meeting and maybe make a further presentation on it. And what I'd like to do is, if you guys, once you go through it, if you have any questions, if you can let me know, and I'll let the folks at Cohen Law Group know. They'll come back with the answers that hopefully that we need. I will tell you, because they put, it's a flat fee for a franchise transfer. It's $2,500. They also would do an audit. If we wanted them to go back and look at the money that we've received from Time Warner Cable, they would go back and do an audit and see where we've fallen short on monies that we probably could have gotten that we haven't. That costs as well. So I'll go through this and give copies to everyone, and then we can talk about it at next month's meeting, if that's all right with the board.
Sounds good.
So and I don't know if that 2% is going to make $2,500 in difference, but a stronger agreement is going to help us down the road. Instead of 3%, 5%. Maybe there's some other things that they've talked about in the proposal that we'd be able to take advantage of too. So
I think one of the biggest benefits would be if they could expand their service into outlying areas, because a lot of people don't have broadband service in the town of Hoosick. But that's the town and not the village.
Right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ben?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Rick?
First, I updated the events page on the village website to, the event details are now shareable on social media individually. Prior to that, if you shared an event on that page, it shared the whole page. And so I figured out a way to share individual events. If you're on social media, you can check it out, go to the events page, and you can click on any events, Facebook or Twitter button to share that on your pages. There's also counters tied to each individual event so that we can see how many shares were for each individual event as well, which is a nice little feature. I will be making, obviously, other updates on the page as we progress here. On the Hoosick River Greenway, we had discussion about the ATV issues earlier. We have ordered the signs to put on the northern section of the trail, prohibiting any unauthorized use over there, and we will get those installed as soon as we have those in hand. Beyond that, there's a couple of other initiatives that are happening with the Hoosick River Greenway that I'm working on. Nothing that I can discuss publicly at the moment. We've discussed it privately, and I've discussed it with the Greenway Committee. But it's good news, it's big news, and I'm hoping to really advance the future plans for the Greenway going forward. And beyond my committee things, I just want to thank Ryan Hand and Alex Lilac for the effort that they put together to organize the first annual Stephen F. Colvin flag football tournament. They had 30 teams turn out for that. They were there for the whole day. Lots of people donated to purchase yard markers and things like that. It was just a great event all the way around, and a great task for the youth of our community to have put together and pulled off like that. And I wish them luck in their future endeavors doing this tournament going forward. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
From Dan's water report, the wastewater report, they brought in $5,460 from waste haulers this month,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite a bit.
Yeah, it is. That's a good amount, just for a month. Yeah, big increase.
That's it.
Number one and number two, right?
Dave, before we go on, will you be discussing the Hoosick Rising thing later
Yep.
on, or should we?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll do that right towards the end. That's why I put them here, so I remember them. Okay, old business. Last night, I attended the town board meeting, and the three agreements that our village board had passed last month were brought up. And I am pleased to say that all three of those agreements were approved by the town board. There was one modification to the agreement involving the police for planned events, and that's really a language modification. Everything else was the same, and I'm just gonna go over what that is. And it says here, the town agrees the town agrees to contract for the village's police personnel from the village for town justice court and for special events as approved by the town board at least 14 days in advance of the special event. Prior to that, we had indicated that someone from the town, we didn't say specifically who, but would give the chief of police 14 days' notice if they were gonna make a request. So they just wanted to specify that difference, and they passed that. I've asked John to review this, which he has. Nothing else was changed. And what I would like to do is bring this up now in terms of a motion. It's basically the same agreement that we had. We just have more specific language in it. And if someone would be willing to make that motion, we could then vote on that. Oops.
I'll make a motion with modification.
As is,
As it is.
okay. Ben, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Bob? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is carried. So we have all three agreements in place, have been approved, I should say, so we'll be working through those. And I think it's a major step forward in terms of collaboration within our community. And I think it's a plus all the way around. It's a win-win situation for everyone. So I want to thank the town board for their review and also the village board for the work that they've done on this. Okay, next order of business. We have a couple of presentations this evening. And the first one is by Robert Flores from CT Mail. And Robert's going to tell us a little bit about the Rogers Avenue water tank. And it's not great news.
Right.
So how's that for an intro?
What a way to start him off.
Thanks for that, Dave.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys discussed it last board meeting, so I'm not sure where to start.
No, I did let the board know. I've sent out an email just giving the background on that. And just basically, I'll just do a very quick intro. The tank, which is about 30 years old, it's a concrete tank. After the winter into the spring, we discovered a number of cracks in the tank, and it was seeping. All right, so leaking out a little bit. Once that was discovered, Jim notified folks. We called Robert. He came over and took a look, and here we are.
So basically, we've been working with you to address this as an emergency repair. Basically, what's happened, you as part of your normal routine, which is great, that Jim does this too, is you have your tank inspected, right? And the last inspection was in November of last year, obviously. And while the cracks obviously didn't come overnight, the cracks were there, but none of them were wet or actively leaking. So this is November, roughly, before winter. So here we are after we go through the winter, and we got numerous cracks actively wet and actively leaking. And some particularly are, nice constant flow coming out. So myself and a couple structural engineers went around the whole tank, took a lot of pictures, measurements, measured the width of the cracks, and we advise you that you should proceed under emergency conditions to repair the tank. And we've had discussion with your village attorney also. So we've been working on along those lines since then. Maybe I'll take a pause there if anybody has any questions.
What's this tank made of?
Concrete.
It is
Reinforced concrete.
Okay.
There's
Gas-
no
gas-
lining in it or anything?
What's that?
There's no lining in it?
There's no liner.
How many gallons is it?
300,000? It's your primary water supply tank. You have a second one, but this is your primary one.
So this has an impact on the entire system.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It does feed the village.
Yep. All right. And I think your report indicated that repairs need to be made prior to the next coming winter.
Right. So what we told you the day we came out and looked at it really closely was, this needs to be fixed. It's not gonna fail tonight, but it needs to be fixed. And you're really, playing with fire if you let it go through a winter. Thus our recommendation to proceed under emergency conditions. So what we've been doing since then is contacted contractors, had them visit the site, give us quotes to do repairs. There's specialty contractors. We contacted 4 of them. 2 of them actually went through with visiting the site and giving us hard price quotes to repair. These are all specialty grout concrete repair guys. The guys that repair dams and that kind of thing. DeVrino and Groutech are the 2 that gave us prices. So they have a little different way to skin the cat, different products you can use, which we've evaluated. And basically what we're recommending is to drain the tank, fix the cracks from the inside, and then apply a liner, which is sprayed applied, to the inside of the concrete tank, to the full walls, 4 walls and the floor.
How long is that gonna last? Is that just a temporary fix, or?
No, this will make the tank, the structural steel,
Yeah.
the structural integrity of the tank is still there,
Okay.
right? So the rebar, the concrete, that's still there. It's important you invest the money now so that that remains there for the next 30 years, right? So by addressing the cracks, pouring this liner, you'll have a watertight product inside a reinforced concrete tank. So we see this as a permanent fix. We evaluate it just fixing it from the outside. If you're trying to just kind of, plug the holes from the outside and survive the winter kind of thing, that fell by the wayside. But, short of replacing the tank, this is a permanent solution.
What about disruption of service?
You obviously have to, you have to do it, right? You have to drain the tank, which means, what does that mean for your water supply? And, Jim can jump in too, but you can provide water to the village with the tank down. There's a couple special things we have to do. We'll have to monitor pressures, we'll have to monitor, the chlorine residuals and that kind of thing. Obviously, the biggest thing you're going to lose is 330,000 gallons that are sitting there available for fire flow. And then also means you'll be working on your smaller tank. So your pumps at the water plant might be working more during this period. So then the next question is, how long is the tank going to be down, right? So the way the process has to work, you have to drain the tank, and that's roughly going to take a week to do. Right?
Drain that tank?
Well, you could drain it in overnight if you wanted to.
Can
Do it
Can
carefully.
I ask that, do you let just usage drain that tank, or do you deliberately go in and drain that tank?
I can't do that because you got the altitude valve. What we're gonna have to do is we got that new altitude valve that we put in when we did the third phase of the distribution system, and we would have to shut down the line before the altitude valve, because the altitude valve tells the when to close and open to let water in that tank and out of that tank. So, to drain that tank, we would have to shut the valves off before the tank, the two valves inside the vault, and the valve just before the tank.
And your clear well pump based on the elevation of the tank, right?
Clear well pumps is based on Rensselaer Street, not
Okay,
Rocky.
so that'd be all right.
We're all set.
So then that tank would then have to be pumped out to the storm system?
Yeah, you got two storm drains right there.
Yeah.
The only thing you gotta worry about is the chlorine residual. You don't want too much going into the river.
You can't bring in some like temporary tanker trucks to hold this stuff until you need it back again.
The chlorine would be no,
Yeah.
Department of Health is not gonna let you do that.
Yeah, it would lose its potable water. You have to retreat it again, so.
How many gallons a year do we treat through the plant? What's that?
How many gallons a year do we treat through the plant?
I don't have that number. What was that number, Dave?
153 million.
But that's about a day's worth of water, right?
Okay.
The 300,000?
Yeah.
We've been averaging 350 to 400.
Okay.
So that's what you'd be throwing away,
A day's worth of
day's
water.
worth of water.
I'm sorry, but on a normal hot day, we can go 600,000-700,000.
Was that technology not available when it was first, when the tank was first erected?
Well, it's really an option that probably that wasn't chosen, right? When you build a concrete tank, you can, even back 30 years ago, you could waterproof the inside. And there's different methods of waterproofing. But
What specifically are they proposing on this one? Is it?
well, we investigated a number of things. On the high end of cost is 100% epoxy liner, and that's that shakes out to like, well, it's pretty much near $20 a square foot, and we have almost 8,000 square feet. So you can kind of do the math there. It's a lot of money. The other alternative, which is what we kind of ended up with, is Cypex is the name of is the product, and it's a cementitious based product.
From like lining a swimming pool.
Exactly. So it's made for water reservoirs, swimming pools, dams.
So the chlorine residual won't eat through that.
Right. It's chemically inert. It's NSF, it's National Science Foundation 61 certified for potable water, which it needs to be. It needs to have no VOCs, which it doesn't. Because we'll have to. So there's two things the contractor needs from the village, and that's drain the tank, provide us water and electricity while we do the work, and then when they're done with the work, village to fill the tank, test it per Department of Health.
Can we fill that tank by opening up the valves and let it fill by itself?
Yeah, you would fill it normal. It would, it's estimated to be between 5 and 6 weeks of actual work. So we're kind of just going over the timeline. A week, I know Jim says you could do it faster, but a week to drain the tank and get ready to work. 5 to 6 weeks to do the work. The material needs to be cured for 12 days before it's poured in service. So that's 2 weeks on top of that. So that's about 9 weeks, right?
And weather restrictions on?
Well, we're working, it's an enclosed tank, so we're working inside. So,
I mean temperature.
yeah, no, we'll be fine.
2.5 months, you start
You
going
are
September 1.
Right. So actually, while it's curing, they'll spray or pry it, and then while it's curing, they'll have to do a fog mist to cure it. But that's an ongoing, you do this section, you do that, you cure it, go to the next one.
Have you been able to check with other municipalities that have used this?
I haven't talked to any municipalities, the past couple of weeks. We can do that, but we've done this at other places. Particularly the contractor that we recommend to use, Groutech, and he was talking to one of our other engineers, but he said he did the exact same thing at a different tank, concrete tank. I could get the name of the town.
Just be nice to know that it's been done before and that they're happy with the way it's going right now.
Right.
Before we spend a lot of money to do
Hey,
it.
Rick, you ask him real quick. I got the totals for you. You just got it. It's like 13.5 million a month, 144 million a year.
Okay. Just to summarize, the tank needs to be repaired. It's an emergency. We have to do it. It has to be repaired prior to the winter. We had 3 options. We could do an exterior repair, as Robert talked about, and the estimated cost was around $25,000. That would buy us 1 winter. And then further work would still have to be done. We could do the interior repair. That the estimated cost is around $70,000. We could replace the tank. The estimated cost is about $500,000. So, do the math. As mentioned, this is an emergency in the sense that we have to have it done before the winter comes. So we'll be looking at late summer, early fall to get this taken care of and be done. In terms of how do we pay for this, we're looking at a number of different options. And we'll be talking in more detail, and I'll have those options for the board for our next meeting. And obviously, we'll look at a ban in terms of a bond is one option. We'll look to see what we can pay ourselves as another option. I have also spoken with Assemblyman McLaughlin and Senator Marchionne's office in terms of capital funds, and I've given them basic information that I've received from Robert. And they're gonna look to see if there are any capital funds that may be available for this. So whatever we could get will certainly help. So that's where we are with that one. The other thing I wanted to mention, Robert indicated that the interior repair, the middle option, if you will, would buy us, assuming everything goes well, a minimum of 10 years. And probably longer. So that's what we have for now.
I just have a couple more questions. if
Yep.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
The cracks that formed, you just been watching with visual inspection, never put a meter or anything on them? I mean, are they?
Right, I mean, we have one point in time, right, the day we went out there and measured the cracks. Because
Okay.
even though they were there before, nobody, measured them lengthwise, measured them widthwise, and depthwise. So we did that, but that's one point in time.
Right. Now, is it unusual for a tank this age to form cracks?
Not really, I mean, obviously, like we said, these cracks didn't form overnight.
Right.
But the cracks become an issue once they become active, you have active water going through, because then now you're gonna have the rebar exposed to water, and then it starts to corrode, and when the rebar corrodes, it expands, you know, so it loses its strength, concrete loses its strength, you know, it's just gonna snowball.
But this cracking is just like a normal, it happens to concrete
It's-
kind of
it's
thing.
part
It's
of
not like excessive pressure from the inside or tank moving from
It's,
from
you know,
ground movement or.
you're right, I mean, a tank full of water has constant pressure that it's exerting, and that's what it was made for. It's just that it's, you know, it's taken 30+ years to show this wear and tear.
I just wanna make sure we don't have a bigger problem, that we're gonna fix it and then we're gonna.
Now, obviously, we've looked at, the diver looked at the tank from the inside in November, right? So we have that information. We looked at the tank from the outside. We'll have the opportunity to drain the tank, and then you can get a lot more closer observation once the tank is dry and people are inside the tank, you know, with ladders and see if there's something. But at this point, even if we found 1 or 2 spots that are particularly bad, you know, we would do a urethane injection in the crack. And I think that would be the extent of it, you know?
Okay, anything else?
Can I just ask, assuming the board went for some type of repairs or lead time on the contractor to get started, so.
Well,
they know-
yeah, that's kind of the chicken and the egg, right? So,
I know that,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean,
So-
you're talking 9 or 10 weeks.
right, I mean, there is just obviously a lead time for the contractor to mobilize. For one, contractor hasn't been told that it's his job, so he hasn't scheduled it yet. Normal, it is kind of the busy part of the year too. So potentially we could, you know, we'll push since it's an emergency thing, but you know, it wouldn't be unreasonable to say give me 2 weeks. Like, you know, it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to say give me 4 weeks before mobilize.
And just one other issue. The other issue, depending on where we go here, we gotta make sure we keep that booster pump system with adequate water. Because the upper part of that tank, they're run on a booster pump system. And we got to make sure that line, that we don't cut off the wrong valve or something, because you're not for sure how they design where the pipes are underneath the ground. I can't find any designs. So, that's the thing that me and Robert are gonna work on and see, make sure we got a constant flow to that booster pump, because if we lose that, I don't know what we're gonna do, as far as, because that's gonna be an extra cost if you have to do something else.
Okay, so that's something we need to be aware of. And also we talked about fire protection, so that with the pumps running
I
longer.
still would go mutual aid until they're done, just make sure the fire.
Right, but you confirm that the fire
I can do
protection
my
should be
best.
good. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
are both folks that are gonna try and get our business, are they aware that these have to be done by the winter?
Yeah.
They are. And is there a warranty?
But
For their work?
everybody gives you a 1-year standard.
Mhm.
If you want more than that, that would just take, potentially the price could, you know, just reflect that.
Okay.
The quotes we have right now are based on 1-year warranty.
Mhm.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Yep.
We'll be talking for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
All right. Total change of topic. Just, on the sound system, again, I mentioned earlier, the bandstand, the community band will be starting up in a few weeks. We just want to make sure that we've got a system for signing out that sound system. Kevin and Rick have worked on the sound system. They've got instructions, they've got pictures. You know, the dummies handbook to setting up the sound system, which was my request. But we need to make sure that people come in, sign it out through the village clerk and for all of these different types of activities. So I've asked Ann to put together some kind of a sign-in sheet. I think generally what we're gonna say is, if there's a weekend event, you need to come in by Friday to pick up the sound system. We know who has it, things like that for follow-through.
Rather not have people plug in their own stuff too, because we don't want people blowing the speakers out.
Yeah, and those few folks for a couple of the activities that we've had already used other equipment, and the sound quality just isn't even close. So it's a terrific sound system, so we want to use it and make sure we still have it. Okay,
Yeah, I'll talk to you about that. I'll put something on it.
okay. One of the things we're looking at is the emergency plans throughout the village, and it tied in with the county and such. And I just want to remind people that in terms of an emergency situation, catastrophic situation, the way things are set up, it's up to the mayor for the village to declare a state of emergency. If the mayor is unavailable, then the deputy mayor comes in next. Should the deputy mayor and the mayor be unavailable, then the plan that we have with the county is that the police chief will step in next. And should the police chief, the mayor, and the deputy be unavailable,
I wanna know where you are.
then the highway superintendent steps in next. So I just want to go over that, make sure people are aware of that. Okay? All right. The 50/50 sidewalk program. Neil has put together the overall overview, if you will, on how that works. It's been edited. I think we're set to go. I'd like to give that to you, Rick, so we can maybe get some of the highlights up on social media. We can take a look at that. We've had a number of private individuals, private homes, indicate that they would like to participate in that. So we want to take a look at that and see what we can do, see if we can get some going over the summer. And we'll also be doing some other sidewalks throughout the village as well. Just want to mention again that we have vacancies on the village planning board and the zoning board. I believe it's one vacancy on the zoning board and 2 vacancies on the planning board. I want to get that right. So if people are interested, or if you know someone who may be interested, please let the village clerk or myself or anyone on the board know about that. Okay, quick update on Wood Brook. As you know, through Assemblyman McLaughlin as well as Senator Marchione, they both sponsored a bill to have Wood Brook be considered an inland waterway, which would then open up the opportunity for funding and grants that hopefully we could use to assist with the flooding and build up the banks and do a lot of the repairs and things like that. Last week I heard from Assemblyman McLaughlin, and Wood Brook did not meet the definition of an inlet waterway. However, what he and his staff did say was that the Hoosick River does meet that definition, and that the Hoosick River, just got to word this properly, by virtue of the Hoosick River becoming designated as an inland waterway, its tributaries would also be involved. So we could then still include some work, hopefully, for Wood Brook. So that was the way we had to go, or it wasn't going to happen. So I sent over a letter, a note requesting that they go forward with that. I believe the bill's still on the floor. I don't know that it's been acted on yet, but we should be hearing something pretty soon because they're going to be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. So that's where we
It's
are.
also my disappointment that my eloquent writing didn't help the cause.
I know.
It was good, but
I was gonna
it
send it
just
back
didn't
to you
meet
to
the
I was
definition.
ready to launch a boat on it.
Yeah, we've already gone over the LEDs. I just want to mention, and the chief mentioned this a little bit earlier, we had a theft down at the DPW barn a couple of weeks ago. It was a sizable theft. It's been turned over to insurance. What I want to mention is that theft occurred, and then because of the vigilance of a village resident, that resident spoke up and saw something they thought was odd. And they reported that to the police department. Later that day, an arrest was made. And as the chief has indicated, there's a warrant for a second individual. There's an ongoing investigation because it didn't just involve the theft at the DPW. There are other things that are involved as a result of this. I've spoken with the individual who contacted the police. I thanked them for doing that. I am not going to reveal their name. But again, it's just another example of if you see something that looks a little odd, out of whack, if that dog is barking and you don't know why, it's barking for a reason, notify the police department.
Was the stuff recovered?
Yes and no. Some was, but it was beyond repair. And basically scrap metal. Scrap metal. That's what happened to it. But we have received word from the insurance company, so we've been covered that way. Okay,
You can't get
Quick-
it back.
what's that?
So, you can't get it back.
No, no, or maybe a few pieces, but nothing near. All right, quick update on Monolith, on our solar panels. They have been working up at the wastewater plant. They were up there last week. They've got all but 4 panels in. Once those 4 panels are in, then they'll be ready to go online with that. So we'll have both water plants utilizing solar panels. The next step, once that is done, they'll be coming here to the municipal building. The tree out front will be coming down, and then they'll be putting panels on this roof as well, including a display panel that will go in the park, just the other side of the wall. So I'd like to think that that's gonna happen soon, but we've been hearing 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. So it hasn't happened yet, but we're getting closer. So that's all good stuff. Okay, new business. We need a motion, it's tax time. We need a motion to collect the 2014 property taxes in the amount of $1,428,191.97. And that's without penalty until July 3rd.
Motion?
Ben? Jeremy, second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. What comes in must come out. So with that lead in, Jeff from MRB, you have a few things to say.
Yeah, any particular place you want me to start? We've got a couple of things to go over tonight, so
At the end there,
I'll start at maybe the top. How's that?
All right.
Just a couple updates on the sanitary sewer collection system improvement study we did back in, I guess it started in last year.
Yeah.
We submitted to EFC in January of 2014. We looked at another alternative to basically go out and look for money to do a pedestrian bridge to provide a crossing for the force main. I met with DOT, who's in charge of that program, and basically what they had said was that the project would not score well because there's already essentially connectivity with the greenway using the shop bridge. And so that kind of, I don't want to say it died, but they did not say to submit a grant application, but I don't suggest the village move forward based on the extent of the grant application. It's very costly to put together, and the chances are limited, I think, moving forward on that. The next thing on that project would be to get the project listed on the New York State EFC intended use plan for funding for 2015. And the mayor, we spoke about this last week, or early, I guess late last week. We're gonna go ahead and do that by the end of the week, this week. And basically, it will get listed as the recommended alternative, which was to go around the shop bridge at this point in time. Based on recent findings, with the force main issue that occurred in April, should there be some other recommendations down the road that would prohibit going that way, we can always change it at that time. But we'll be investigating that. That'll be something I talk about shortly here. So our plan is to go ahead and do that, get it listed, and by the end of the week. It's an online application, and it's pretty painless. We've done several of them, very familiar with the program, so it should be pretty straightforward. Next thing that I wanted to talk about was the River Road Pump Station force main and gravity sewer investigation. Just a quick recap of what occurred. I'm sure everybody's aware of it. There was a sanitary sewer overflow that occurred on April 2nd. Worry about that, Dan? Danny notified the DEC, which is standard protocol. Following that, the village received a notice of violation because of that overflow. You had raw sewage on the ground. Basically, DEC gave you 30 days to submit a letter essentially saying what you're gonna do to investigate the integrity of the pipe. And Danny took care of that, and the plan moving forward is to basically bypass the force main and do a closed circuit television inspection of that pipe to determine the condition of it. So what we've done is basically prepared RFPs to contractors to advertise to get prices for that work. we've estimated right now, it could be upwards of 85K to do that. Given the complexities of it, you've got the railroad to deal with, you've got the bypass pumping next to the railroad. So essentially, you're gonna have a pipe, basically, you know, installed parallel to the railroad, which is gonna involve, obviously, coordination with Pan Am, because they're obviously gonna be concerned about laying a pipe next to the tracks. So that's, that all is gonna add cost to the investigation work. So right now, the tentative schedule that I put together was to advertise the RFP on June 16th, which is Monday, next week. Do a pre-bid walkthrough on June 20th, so that, you know, prospective bidders all are on the same page as to what we're trying to accomplish. And then open bids, Monday following the 4th of July, on July 7th.
Is that the same main that runs underneath the river?
No, it's downstream of that. So this is the River Road pump station.
Okay.
Force main that goes along the railroad down to the plant. So one thing I also want to bring up is the DEC suggested that I guess they're enforcing you to look at the force main, right? The force main pumps to a gravity sewer by the Woodflawn Bridge, okay? From there, it goes gravity, crosses the Woodflawn Bridge to the plant. Given the age and basically the force main and the gravity sewer are the same age, so they're strongly encouraging the village look at the gravity sewer section too. So what we've done is, basically we're gonna get pricing to do the force main and the gravity sewer all lump sum, then the village can basically decide whether they wanna move forward and do the gravity sewer also. Does anybody have any questions on that? It seemed prudent to do it that way, just so you have some idea of what it would cost.
Timeline set by DEC that it has to be done by a certain.
No, basically after, we send out the RFP and basically get quotations. Within 60 days of completing the work, completing the investigation, they wanna know what the plan is to repair it. And we won't know any of this until the actual investigation occurs. So within 2 months after you've looked at the pipe, tell us what you're gonna do. Could be nothing, could be replace it, could be patch it, we just don't know yet, without actually doing the televising work.
There's no chance of relining that line from the...
Well, that's an option. One of the concerns with that would be capacity, right? You're gonna lose inside diameter, not a lot, but that's always an option.
Also, too, do you think that the increase in train traffic and the bigger engines have caused some of that damage, the vibration?
I can't say for certain, but the pipe is asbestos cement, so inherently it's brittle. So it's not surprising to me. I mean, it is 40, 50 years old and been, under a lot of vibration due to the railroad over the years. One of the other things, cement doesn't hold up real well to sewer. You'll get hydrogen sulfide gas in the lines, which just corrodes concrete over time. So.
Apparently, so does our fresh water.
As you might imagine, I've had discussion again with Senator Marchion's office as well as Steve McLaughlin's office, with Steve personally, about capital funds for this. We forwarded over to him the letter from DEC, which is requiring us to do this. I've let him know that we have no argument with DEC. We have a very good working, solid working relationship with them. But this is totally unanticipated, and it's not even part of the repair. It's not to say, spend $80,000 or $60,000 or $50,000 and everything will be all better. It isn't. This is just to look at it and say, now here's what you really have to do. So hopefully we're gonna be able to look at some funding there. I'll be talking with them again. But again, things that have to get done.
Yeah, I just want to add too, I did bring some copies of the RFP here tonight, so you guys can all get a look at it before it gets advertised on Monday. If you have any comments, shoot me an email, call me with anything. But I'll get with Ann. Ann, does Word document, can you just?
Yeah.
That'll work, right? So I can just email that to you and then you can forward that to the paper.
Yes, sir.
And I'll also be sending it out to, known contractors that we work with on this type of work. And there's at least 4 that I'm aware of in the area that would
Okay.
be interested. One other negative is that these contractors that do this work, Robert mentioned it about water, everybody's busy right now with this type of work. And, you know, that's obviously gonna be a concern of mine, is that they're busy and they're just, you know, prices are gonna not be favorable. So, this type of work is going on right now, and they like to do it during the dry season, so they're all busy.
How much pipe do we have to inspect?
The force main's 1,750 feet, and the gravity sewer is at roughly 1,350, give or take.
So to dry that out, you need to put in like an auxiliary line while they,
Well, basically, the way we've looked at it is that the River Road pump station now has a bypass connection on it right now. So we can use those pumps, hook a pipe on the bypass connection that's there, pump to the gravity sewer down by the Woodflawn Bridge. That'll get the force main dry, and then we'll clean and flush that and televise it. The gravity sewer portion will require pumps, obviously, to come on site and transmit flow from manhole to manhole, or to stop flow in one manhole on the other side of the Woodflawn Bridge and pump it all the way to the plant. Because keep in mind, you're gonna basically be renting a piece of pipe that's 1,750 feet long. So why not use that for the gravity sewer section also?
Okay, any other questions?
well, and Danny, we have a camera, but this is well beyond the capabilities of that, correct?
There's no way we'd be able to use ours.
Had to ask.
Okay. Because we want to get the RFP out, we're gonna need a motion to do that, so again, so we'll know what we're dealing with. So is there a motion?
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried, thank you. Next item is, Danny has requested approval to go to a 2-day training session. It's gonna take place in Ohio, and it's for sewer personnel. That's an interesting tag, sewer personnel.
I didn't put that.
Okay, it's at no cost to the village. Danny, this does go towards your credits?
Yep, I can get 9 hours.
Okay. This is something that MRB, Jeff just left, but that they've made us aware of. I think it would be an excellent opportunity for our staff to get involved in that. Plus, again, they'll pick up 9 hours and there's no cost to the village.
Can I go?
Sewer personnel.
I'm the only one going. Kenny's not going. He doesn't do airplanes, so he's staying here.
All right.
Come take the train.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Bob?
Second?
Rick? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Jim, would you do me a favor and knock on the door and see if the chief is there? So that we can go over these next couple of items. Thank you. Hello. Next item on the agenda, we have the request to hire 2 part-time police officers effective June 10. Officer John Larrabee and Dennis Gravel. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, both of them are trained officers. One was down Saugerties, he's moved up in this area, he's up in the Troy area. And the other one is just up in the Saratoga area. Between both of them, they probably have 30 years' experience in law enforcement. There's gonna be no cost to the village other than for sure their advance they have to buy and the time that they would be on the schedule. And that would be it.
Are these replacement positions in addition
These
to?
were individuals that are gonna replace officers that have since left.
Okay, okay. I've talked to Bobby Ryan, obviously he's not here tonight, but he's aware of this and he supports it. There would be a probation,
Yes, sir, 6 months.
6 months probation, okay. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Ben, was that? Yep,
Second.
okay,
Yeah, it was.
second.
Yep.
Jeremy? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Bob?
Yep.
Okay, let the record reflect. Bob is opposed to that. All right, that motion is carried.
How did you find these officers, Bob? Did they request a position with the
Yeah,
village?
they send resumes in.
Okay, the next item is a request to sponsor 2 recruits for the police academy, again, starting June 10. Derek Wiltie and Nicholas Culinary.
Where are they from?
Nick Culinary is from North Hoosick, and Derek used to live in Hoosick. He moved to Colony, and he's moving back up here to New York.
Okay.
He should be moving within the next, he's gotta break his lease funds out, and he'll be moving back up.
Okay.
Once we sponsor, is there any commitment that they have to make?
Yes, this is a program we kinda started a couple of years ago where we've kept, it doesn't cost us anything. They pay their own way through. When they come out, they come with us, and, most of the time, if not all the time, we have them for at least a year before they, are picked off the list and they go to other departments. So we're fortunate to have them, again, at no cost. I say no cost because the uniforms, the ammo, et cetera, they pay all on their own. And then when they come here, as I say, they're usually here with us as a part-time officer for 6 months to a year. Most of the time it's to a year. And what we found is that by doing this, we do lose officers throughout the course of the year, and we fall short. And so then we're pushing guys into additional shifts and, or, it's getting kind of double shifts here and there. So, I mean, it's kind of tough. So with the program like this keeps officers coming in. We have tried to look around for individuals. This Derek came from us through Harold. He moved the kid, moved up here. So we are speaking to individuals. We interviewed one of our young kids from the village here now that is interested in becoming an officer here. One of the things though, he's in college, and I like the college end of it, and I told him when he's done with his associate's degree, then he can come and talk to us, which he's gonna be done in November, and he's gonna come back and talk to us, and I'm hoping that, he's gonna be able to go to the upcoming school in January, and he lives right here in the village. So we're trying to get the word out to get as many as we can in the
Okay.
village to come back in.
How many years has this been going on?
We've been doing this for about 2 years now.
About 2 years. So it's too early to tell whether any of these officers that have gone through this might come back.
One of them
Be-
did. Peyton Ogden, who was with us, left and went to Warren County. He's come back to work with us.
That's great.
Ryan McDonald and Mike Gordon went to Troy. As soon as they're done with their probation, they're hoping to come back part-time with us. So yes, they're getting a lot of experience here, and then they are hoping to come back part-time with us. And the word can get out as we've tried, encourage kids from, I say kids, individuals from the village or the town to work here.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Bob?
Second?
Ben, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, next order of business is, and this is, the board was aware of this, when we filled our 3 summer help positions. Christopher Marshall started on June 2nd, I believe, working at the wastewater treatment plant. And we wanted to get all 3 of those positions started that first week in June, which has happened. So we need to formalize that. And it's working out, from what Kenny tells me.
Yep.
So that's good. Okay. So is there a motion?
Make the motion.
Kevin?
Second?
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried, thank you. We had a request from the Little League, from Tony Fain, in terms of the field maintenance. He asked if they would be able to fill up the tractor that they use to cut the grass and take care of the lawns down there in the fields, if they could purchase their gasoline from the village tanks at the current rate. It would save them from having to drive off and fill up a tank somewhere and come back. I told him that I would certainly support that. I've talked to Neil to see if there would be any issues whatsoever. He had none. We'll still be able to account for how much gasoline they're using, and they will be billed for that, and then they'll pay the rate that, and I just don't know what it is off the top of my head, but they will pay the current village rate for gasoline.
He's only looking for access when it's open though, right?
Yep.
And they're gonna, somebody from the department is gonna fill that tank?
I don't know that for sure.
See, it
Okay.
may be Danny or Neil. They don't know.
Say that again?
Probably Danny or Neil.
Neil left, right? Not here.
A
But
lot
we,
of times they do as well as like the fire departments, if they come here with a key, they sign the key out.
so we've got an accountability.
Okay, I mean, I would wanna, I mean, they obviously are gonna know when their gas is low to make a request at least ahead of time that they know that they need to fill it up or something, just.
And there's also a log book down there, so if they're taking more than 8 gallons, there's a problem.
So we can check that. Okay. Any other questions?
Mayor, has the village corrected the problem with the discrepancy on fuel usage? I noticed in the last audit report, there was a large discrepancy on how much gasoline was used.
Yes,
and,
under the previous administration, a study was done, and I think you were involved in that,
Yeah,
in
it was
following up.
It was whether or not the logbook was being updated every single time. It wasn't a discrepancy in the amount being used, it was the discrepancy in the amount being accounted for.
Okay. And then what about taxes with the gasoline? Not that, it's gonna be an awful lot, but if an individual was to just purchase gas at the pumps, they pay sales tax.
Right. No, I'm not sure where
I
that
don't know what-
stands.
I don't know
That
if-
belongs to the
Village
fire
profit.
department?
Is a nonprofit exempt from sales tax?
I would think so.
They are a nonprofit?
We are,
Okay.
so aren't they?
Right.
So, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Bob, was it? Yes. Is there a second?
Second?
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried, thank you. Next item, and we've talked about this before, and Ed alluded to it a little bit earlier, in terms of abandoned properties, and I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting. There is a bill on the floor of the legislature that's been initiated by the Attorney General, and it's referred to as the abandoned properties, or sometimes you'll see the term zombie properties used. Properties that have just, people have walked away for whatever reasons, and banks and mortgage holders have these properties, and we've got a number of them in our community. And the grass is 3 feet high, and the buildings are falling apart and all the rest of it. I've spoken again with Senator Marchione as well as Assemblyman McLaughlin about this, and asked them if they would support the Attorney General's bill. And that bill basically says that mortgage holders, particularly banks, must be held accountable for properties. And if someone walks away, again, for whatever the reason may be, that the mortgage holder is required to maintain that home and to put money into that home. The way it works now, Ed spends countless times making phone calls to people that don't return calls or don't acknowledge that the property is even owned by that particular bank, or followed by that bank. This bill, and the bill number in the Assembly is 9341, and in the Senate, it's 7350. What I would like to do is propose that we pass a resolution which we can forward on to both the senator and the assemblyman, saying that the board supports this particular bill, so that we can go forward with it. This is not only just an issue in our community, in our county, in our state, it's a national issue. And a lot of these banks, their headquarters aren't even in New York State. And it's not just banks, but they're a prime offender, if you will.
Do you think it's gonna make it to the floor this year?
Well, that's what they're hoping. That's what they're hoping. They're pushing for it.
Nikon's pushing really hard.
Yeah, they are.
I'm sure the banks are pushing really hard the other way.
Exactly. In fact, that's been part of it. They are spending a lot of money lobbying against this. Why? Wouldn't you want the property kept up so you can sell it that
Exactly.
much quicker? I mean, my goodness. So I would ask the board for a resolution supporting this. Bill in the Senate, bill in the Assembly will send it over. And again, if you're good with that, I'll ask for a roll call. We'll have that put in the proper format with the bill numbers on it.
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
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 You got everybody?
Everybody present?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, you may recall back in December, the board agreed to a settlement with Furon, and this was over a tax assessment. And this is a long-standing issue that involved the town, the village, and the school as well. And it's my understanding that both the school and the town have settled. We agreed back in December that we would put forth a, what's the term? Can't think of it.
Agreement.
Proposal, thank you. Put forth a proposal. And my memory is not as great as it was, but we were talking about allowing Furon to have a tax credit over the next 5 years for the amount, and I believe it was $42,000, right around that. And so there would be no money out of pocket for the village. And we passed that in a motion. We've heard from our attorney who is representing us with Furon, and from the Furon folks themselves, they have accepted that. However, we need to put that motion that we already approved in the form of a resolution, so that we are supporting that, and we will forward that on to the attorney. Again, this is something we had previously approved by motion. Oh, I thought it was December. It was, okay, it was January 14th. Sorry.
Just a motion, but this is a general.
Yeah, and it was $42,639 over a 5-year period in terms of tax credits. So I would ask, in terms of a resolution,
Bob?
Yes.
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 okay, thank you. The next item that we have, it's handwritten in here, it says a motion to publish the 2013 annual drinking report. I think that might be a typo. I'm hoping that's a typo.
Sounds good.
Let's call it the annual water report.
Annual water quality report.
Water quality report. That goes in the paper every year.
I came in late today, that's why.
No, somebody.
Motion.
Are there two separate reports, or are they just one?
It's
You mean the water and the drinking report?
No, we had a problem last time with.
No, this is
No,
ours.
this is just the one.
town
This is
already-
ours.
Town is
Yep.
done there like 2 months ago.
Oh, theirs is done. Okay.
So, a motion for that?
Motion.
Bob, second, Ben?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried, thank you. We now require a motion to go into executive session to discuss some personnel and safety, security issues.
David, are you gonna talk about the meeting for tomorrow?
Yes, I will do that, we'll get this one out.
Okay.
Is there, and thank you for reminding me, because that's why I put it there. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion?
Second.
Ben, Jeremy, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Prior to us going into executive session, I want to mention we have some flyers here. As everyone is aware, we have initiated our economic development strategy.